Okay, so now we're actually going to talk about a little bit about the PAR model. This is a model that was suggested by Geoff Petty, an educator and author, in his book Teaching Today. Get that book; it's pretty good. Um, so here, Petty actually lays out learning in a kind of specific pattern. Um, Presentation of material, followed by the applied learning, and then the review phase. So each one of these things is actually laid out to a certain uh, uh, amount of time for the instruction itself. So he has allotted 35% of the time for actually presenting the material, another 60% of the time for actually applying those skills itself, and the last 5% for review. So looking at this, let's talk about this. In the present phase, again, that's the 35%, the student is actually presented with new information. Okay, that information, talks about new concepts, skills, theories, and things that they're going to actually convert to knowledge. So this presentation includes explanations, and then and this is where the students actually starts getting that first exposure to that information itself. Here we're talking about various different methods of exposure. I mean, it could be a traditional classroom lecture. This could be a reading assignment. This could be a video, audio cassette recording of an assignment or something like that. It's just exposing the student to that information and those concepts that we want them to learn. So again, this is 35% of the time. Next, the student moves into what is called the applied phase. In the apply phase, again, 60% of the time, they're going to start applying the concepts that they just learned and actually trying to employ or use that material presented. In other words, they're learning by doing. In this phase, errors and errors and omission in the concepts are normally discovered and corrected. Normally, this is done in a couple of different ways. The student can kind of find these errors as they kind of move through and realize, oh, this does not work because of X, Y, and Z. It has to be this way or whatever. So that's self-correction. Or it could be correction by, input from other peers or even input from the teacher or whatever. As the teacher is observing, and this is where we see our teachers spending the most time in the apply phase because they are actually observing the student actually applying these skills wherever. And that application could be anything from a group project to a workbook to a self-project, experimentation or whatever. That is where they're going to apply those. And the teacher is using methods, such as Socratic questioning to find out how much of the information the student retained and how much do they understand or whatever. And again, they make those slight edits by making suggestions to the student. Hey, maybe this may look different another way or whatever. So at the end of this phase there's going to be the review. So in the review phase, when the actual teacher and student kind of reviews what was taught or whatever, and again confirm some key points and emphasize explanations and help the student make those actual linkages with formal learning. So we think about it, in terms of mathematics. So a student actually is moving from learning basic addition to multiplication. And once the actual student moves to the end of the multiplication block of instruction, they may review. So remember, in addition, 1 plus 2 equals 3. But when you look at over here, we instead of plus and we're timing, what we're saying is 3. 1 plus 3, and it actually works out another way. So that student can actually see it. So we want to kind of tie that newly learned material to the previously learned information or whatever as they can continue the building piece. So what I want to actually kind of talk about in the final video will be an application of the PAR model within the context of the constructivist classroom. All right, so please stand by for that one.